Hi, good afternoon. This is the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. I'm Councilmember Weezar, joined by Councilmember Mitch Englander. And we're going to go through the agenda. We do have Councilmember Tom LaBonge here, so we'd like to take that item up first. I believe it's item number 2. If you could read that into the record, please.
Sure. Item 2 is a motion by Mr. LaBonge and O'Farrell seeking to initiate the inclusion of Dante's View, which is located at Griffith Park, in the list of historic cultural monuments.
Thank you. Mr. LaBonge, would you like to share some words?
Dante Jr. Thank you. You don't have to stand up. Okay. And you can smile. Okay, thank you. You've got to have a little humor in there. You've got a tie on there. Good afternoon. The Department of City Planning is very much responsible now for historic monument status. And I thought it was appropriate that we nominate this year for the 50th anniversary, now it's 51st year, Dante's View, which is in Griffith Park on the Mount Hollywood on the eastern slope. Dante Orgolini, which is this Dante Orgolini Jr. This is his daughter right here, and I want to say it correctly.
Lisa.
With an L, Lisa Orgolini. And Gloria Orgolini. And Margot's all the way over in Hawaii, who used to date my brother Bobby. I hope that's no problem at all, Mr. City Attorney.
That we should be aware of.
Very good. This family has such a great father who made a lasting contribution to Los Angeles when in 1964 he made a relationship with the water master of Griffith Park and punched a hole in the water line and created a garden. He lived till 1978. There's a beautiful plaque there that states your wonderful dad's name and how he made this garden for me and you. Has anyone been to Dante's View in this room? I know your wife has a lot there. You have? Right here, over there, 2 of you. So y'all got a homework assignment this week there. Again, you don't laugh. You're taking your business too seriously over here. But anyway, I just thought it'd be important to include it, and I'm going to ask Dante to say a few words about this beautiful garden.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning on saying anything, but anyway, my father did this many years ago when we were just kids, and he was a great advocate and loved Griffith Park and taught us to love Griffith Park. We lived very close, and it was like our backyard. And I remember many years later, after I was already on my own and working, he said he had built this little place up in Griffith Park, and so I said, I'd love to see it. So we went up there, and I could see what he did, and I said, Dad, they're going to throw you in jail for this. You can't do this, you know. And he said, no, it's okay. The Rangers saw me. I said, I don't think you're allowed to do this. Well, as it turned out, the Rangers didn't mind letting him do this, and what he did is he terraced off 1 acre, and he got the best. He was an artist by profession. He got one of the best spots where you could see downtown, you could see the city itself, and you could see Santa Monica and the ocean. And I thought, oh God, this is a great spot. And he subsequently got people to come up there. He spoke 5 languages. He was from Brazil, but he spoke Spanish and English and Portuguese and French and German. And so he had just a wonderful group of people, Europeans primarily, that came up there and spent their time there. And they did this until his death in 1978. And it became a meeting place more than anything else. And then his close associate, Charlie Turner, took over and continued that wonderful little park for people to go to. And surprisingly enough, it's still there with the same zest and fervor that it had before. And so I think it was Lady Bird Johnson who in early 70s went up there and gave this its official assignment, calling it Dante's View. And she said this was one of the most beautiful things she's ever seen for a city park to have, and for somebody in this, somebody in the community to come up and do something like this on their own. And my father loved that, and it was the last 20 years of his life, and he loved doing that, and we love seeing him do it. So that's what I have to say. That's it. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As
Thank you for that
you
history.
live in Orange County now. Venice Beach. Who lives in Orange County? Your brother. Okay, got that. I confused you with your brother. I apologize. But anyway, it's really special. And I knew Dante. And when Dante would greet me when I was in high school and take my friends up there, my girlfriends, he would always kiss me on that. Remember that when your dad would do that? And then I was good friends with Charlie. And when Charlie passed, I took over. And I plan to be there after June 30th on a more constant basis because there's nothing like Dante's View. There's one of 3 gardens. Captain's Roost, which is the oldest, which was destroyed by the fire in 2005. Dante's View was 3/4 destroyed, but it's come back robustly. And Amir's Garden, which is a fabulous garden on the north side that has the best water pressure. Because there's 2 things you need in life. You need water and relationships. And once Dante got the relationship, he got the water that gave this garden for me and you. So I certainly appreciate it. And I'll thank the planning department. And I don't know if the representative from the planning department's here on this at all. You want to say something? Did you hike up there yet? We got to get you hiking up there if you haven't been up there yet.
No, we have to do that.
Okay.
Well, this will come to the Cultural Heritage Commission. We're hoping to schedule it for June 18th.
Okay.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, and if you can't hike up, I will give you a ride in the city truck, so I just want to let you know. Thank you, Mr. President, Chairman, and all good. I'll take your family hiking there one time. It's really beautiful. It's a very special spot. Thank you for what your father did, your grandfather. Thank you.
Thank you. And motion to suspend the rules for Mr. Labange as he speaks. We already did. Okay. Thank you. Well, with no other objection, this item is moved, seconded by myself, moved by Mr. Englander. So ordered, and we will have this in commission. No, council first, then commission.
Yes.
When is it going to council?
Next Wednesday, sir, that would be May 27th.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So ordered. Thank you. Next item, number 4. I believe we have one card, so we'll hold that. Item number 5 and 6. With Mr. Englander's approval, we will move those items and with no objection. You want to read them into the record?
Sure. Item 5 is a zone change ordinance for the construction of a commercial shopping and entertainment.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have a card on 5, so we're gonna have to we'll keep 5. We're moving items 4 and 6.
Okay. So do you want me to read 4 and 6, Councilman?
Yes.
Okay, 4 is a zone change ordinance to construct a 22-unit apartment building in CD3. And number 6 is a general plan amendment and I believe a downgrade for a local street to construct a DOT bus facility in your district.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move those items with no objection. Now, item number 5.
Item 5 is a zone change ordinance to construct a commercial and entertainment center in CD8.
Thank you. Is department here on this item?
Yes, good afternoon. Jordan Turner, Department of City Planning. Before you is a general plan amendment and zone change for the construction, use, and maintenance of a 127,000 square foot commercial shopping center in the South Los Angeles area, specifically located at Vermont Avenue and Manchester Avenue. The Commission approved and recommended the zone change and general plan amendment and also approved the site plan. There's no opposition at the hearing. Here for
Thank
any
you.
questions.
Milan Garrison.
Thank you. I'm just the representative for the applicant, and just here to answer any question that you may have in regards to our project, and we're moving expeditiously on it, and would hope that you find the approval satisfactory.
Okay, I have no questions. We'll move this item. No objections. And this is going to council when?
Next Wednesday, May 27th, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So ordered. Item number 1.
Item 1, Councilman, is the mayor's communication to reappoint Ms. Terry Stein to the East LA APC.
Thank you. Ms. Stein here? Welcome, Ms. Stein, great resident of CD 14. And this is for reappointment. Anything you want to share with the committee with your experiences as you've served there now for how long?
A year.
Maybe a year and a half. Okay, well, welcome. Anything you'd like to share with the committee?
I've enjoyed serving very much, and I look forward to continuing in this role.
Great. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Thank you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for serving on this commission and term ending June 30th, 2020. We'll move this item to council to be heard when?
Tomorrow, Wednesday?
Tomorrow, Wednesday. You're taking 2 days of work off.
See you tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you very much. So ordered. Next item.
If you're going sequentially, it's item 3, Councilman, which is the Porter Ranch Development Agreement Extension.
There's no cards on this, Ms. Janglander. You just want to move it? Okay. So we'll move this item with no objection. So ordered. Item 7.
Item 7, Councilman, is an appeal by Mr. Jim McQuiston. He's appealing the construction of a mixed-use project which includes 100 all affordable housing units in CD 13.
Okay. Staff here on this item?
Good afternoon, Councilman. Monica Costa with the Department of City Planning. Before you today is an appeal of the conditional use, project permit compliance review, project permit adjustments, and site plan review approved by the City Planning Commission on February 26, 2015 for a mixed-use project that provides 100 residential units that are 100% affordable to very low and low-income households, and ground floor commercial space that is within 255 feet of the Vermont Beverly Metro Red Line station. The City Planning Commission also approved 3 density bonus on-menu incentives and 3 density bonus off-menu incentives that are not a part of this appeal. I would like to clarify that the Plum agenda lists the on-menu incentives as action items, but the on-menu incentives are not before you today. The appellant states that the reasons for the appeal include that the City Planning Commission had no authority to take up the matter, that the City Planning Commission had no discretion to approve the matter, that the city may not allow a project that is in violation of the specific plan if it is possible to use the property as a specific plan allows, that California Government Code and LAMC exclude participation of a council district in an action before a commission acting on a matter concerning an established plan of a California city. That California Government Code permits any resident or property owner to file an action against the city. Staff finds that the appeal points are without merit. Staff recommends denial of the appeal and recommends sustaining the City Planning Commission's approval of the conditional use to increase the density, project permit compliance with the Vermont Western Specific Plan, project permit adjustments to redistribute the building's massing and volume, and reduce transparent elements, site plan review for a project with more than 50 residential units, and the adoption of the mitigated negative declaration. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll first hear from the appellant, Jim McQuiston. You have 5 minutes, Mr. McQuiston.
Jim McQuiston. I'm starting to lose my mind, so I have to look at a sheet here. I've got 7 points here. You have my faxes that I've sent down. I also faxed it to each of you.
Okay.
First of all, the West Chandler City review was not proper. Second of all, the wrong commission heard this matter. Now, I want to say that West Chandler specifically pointed to several points, but I don't want to go into all these. I don't have only 5 minutes, so I'm not going to go through everything. But I want to say that the SNAP area requires hearing by the Central Area Planning Commission, just like planning said. And the Supreme Court, in a Supreme Court case, which I can cite to you, but I'm not going to go through it all, said, this is what's known as Rader versus San Diego, said that when you use the word may, it sometimes is mandatory. And in this case, it is mandatory because if you use shall, what it would mean is that every single case would have to be reviewed by them, and that's not what they really meant when they wrote SNAP. I participated heavily in SNAP. The simple solution for it is, which I've said a long time ago to the applicant, is to get the city to send it to the Area Planning Commission and let them decide it. That's what the charter was changed, so that we would have area planning commissions so they would decide things in their own area. And this is obviously something that should be decided in the SNAP area. And so that's why I'm particularly concerned with this. It's not the point of whether or not we're putting in low-density housing. Obviously, we need that in the city. But as you saw in my file there, we're already zoned for a higher density than Manhattan Island, so we don't need to go over that density. What we need to do is spread the density out in other places where there's work. There's no work right there, and that means that we're just not putting the density where we really need it. The next thing is about the zoning consistency. That's all explained in my report to you. And I was wondering about that. I was trying to read that upside down, but I couldn't figure out what it meant. The property is usable even for low-cost housing without the deviations. And what I'm also, as a practicing engineer, concerned about is many of the deviations make it unsafe. Some of those separations are because we need to get fire departments in with ladders, and without that, people are burned to death. And we already had that in CD13 in the Palomar fire because the fire department couldn't get close to that building. A woman jumped to her death. The other thing I'm very concerned about is the interference with CD13. This is definitely something that was taken up in West Chandler, which you all know, it was before you. In West Chandler, the Court of Appeal said, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to let people respond when people say things. And we're not doing that in City Hall right now, and we got to start doing that. It's been again and again before the Courts of Appeal, and we just don't pay any attention to them. That is essentially what I'm after. We're not really trying to cut down anybody. I hate the fact that the city planning department doesn't tell people what they can do and what they can't do. They always say, why don't you try it and see what happens? That's no way to run the city. We've got to do better, and we can do better. This is a great city. We need density where it counts. Out on the west side, we need density like mad, and we're not getting it. We're building density next to freeways. In some places, they say, don't build that density 500 feet, within 500 feet of a freeway. I mean, it's all just kind of helter-skelter. It's hopscotch. And we're a big city. We're the second largest city in the nation. We should set the point for everybody else.
Thank you. Eric Lieberman.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Eric Lieberman and represent Amcal Multi-Housing. Just have a couple of quick statements. We respectfully disagree with Mr. McWeston and agree with staff that all the procedures were proper and accurately executed in this case under the multiple approvals ordinance of the city charter. This is a 100% affordable project. Without your support for this project, specific funding from the State Department of Housing and Urban Development will be lost and will be allocated elsewhere. Staff worked incredibly hard alongside our team to make this project designed appropriate for this area by providing housing, affordable housing in this area, close proximity to mass transit, will help to meet the city's citywide needs for the lack of affordable housing in this area. So We urge you to deny the appeal and allow this project to get started immediately. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you get staff back up, please? Or maybe this is a question for city attorney. Or procedurally, the appellant mentions that it did not follow proper procedure. It should have gone to the APC instead of the CPC. Is that accurate? Anything glaring, or is it a bit more?
Well, if that's true, but I would defer to staff on that one since they're familiar with the project. Maybe they can respond and I can chime in.
Okay. So the project included a conditional use and density bonus off-menu incentives that were to be heard by the City Planning Commission. And under Section 1236 of the Code and the Multiple Approvals Ordinance, all the other entitlements will go to the higher decision-making body, which is the City Planning Commission. So the project permit compliance review, the project permit adjustments, and the site plan review were under the jurisdiction of the City Planning Commission. If the project were to pursue specific plan exceptions, it would be under the jurisdiction of the Area Planning Commission. But there were no specific plan exceptions included in the request.
Oh, there were none. So it couldn't violate any as stated in the appeal, since there was no relief sought from the specific plan. But would it violate it in any way, even if it didn't seek any relief?
No, because to address the density increase, it used the conditional use. To address the deviations from the height requirements in the specific plan, for the step-back requirements, it used the on-menu density bonus incentives. And to address transitional height for the reduction in the horizontal distance and to increase the transitional height, it used off-menu density bonus incentives. The applicant also provided a pro forma with peer review that was included in as an exhibit under the City Planning Commission's.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. We have, we don't have staff here in C13, do we? No? Okay. We'll move this item and deny the appeal. Is there a second for that? Yes, Mr. McQuiston? You're like the fourth council member on this committee, so I'm going to give you a special exception if you have something to say. You're not the appellant? Yeah. Okay. So we'll move to deny the appeal and move forward and move this to full council, so ordered. Thank you. Item number 8.
Item 8, Councilman, is an appeal by Theodore and Sam Lehman. He's appealing the action of the South Valley APC relative to a zone variance for the conversion of a single-family home to a child care facility in CD4.
CD4, okay. Staff here?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is Theodore Irving. I'm with the Planning Department representing this case. As indicated, this is a conversion of a single-family home to a child care facility. The zoning administrator approved the conditional use to operate the facility. In addition, the zoning administrator approved a zone variance to allow 2 parking spaces in the front yard and to allow 50% of the front yard area to be paved as a driveway. The appellate appealed the zoning administrator's decision, and on February 17th, the South Valley Area Planning Commission sustained the zoning administrator's decision on the conditional use and sustained the decision on the zone variance for the parking in the front yard and the use of 50% of the front yard for a paved area for driveway purposes. The appellant is further appealing the zone variance, and that is what is in front of you at this time. He's unable to appeal the conditional use past the Area Planning Commission. So the appellant has decided to appeal the zone variance, and that's before you today. His statement is that the zone variance is going to reduce his property values and cause traffic congestion in the area. So we are asking that this body supports the decision of the Area Planning Commission and the zone administrator's decision, and again, approving the use of the front yard for parking purposes. And so that concludes my remarks.
Okay. Thank you. We'll hear from the appellant first. Theodore Lehman. You have 5 minutes, sir.
I understand that you're going to consider...
If you could speak into the microphone.
I understand you're going to consider the Southville Area Planning Commission report. Could I say something about that? My thoughts on that?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, I have a disability. I'm on supplementary security income, and for the last 2 years, a psychologist has been coming to my home, and he's aware of the noise and the atmosphere that the school is causing and how it's affecting my health. I've discussed with him recently, and he may thinking of writing you a letter about that. About the conditional use permit, I think everything about the conditional use permit is good. Except the large increase in the number of children. Last year, I discussed with the attorney the possibility of having a less number of children, but he refused to negotiate with me. I think that my neighbors agree that the conditional use permit is good, except of the large number of children. The zone variance, which I could appeal. First of all, the mitigated negative declaration requires a 5-foot landscape buffer for aesthetics. With approval of the zone variance, that will not be possible. That's within the termination letter of the zone administrator in November, that was stated. And additionally, that letter stated that the preliminary review, the Department of Transportation would not approve the 2 parking spaces because they extend into the driveway and would interfere with the drop-off and pick-up in the driveway. In addition, if cars are going to be arriving in a staggered manner, why would it be necessary to have the 2 parking spaces in the front yard? Other thing I'd like to say, the Southville Area Planning Commission, they made a quick decision. They only reviewed it once. There were only 4 people on that commission, and they were not unanimous in their decision. I think you should also consider the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. They reviewed it 3 times with the Land Use Committee and 1 time with the board, and they would not, they denied the application. And in addition, all the neighbors that live near the school have stated that they are against the project, a very large group of neighbors. Let me see.
Did you finish? Does that conclude your...
Can I wait I've got to... Can I wait until, or should I just stop now?
It's stop now. We don't reserve time here, so you have your 5 minutes.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Rob Glushan, representing the applicant.
Good afternoon, council members. For the record, Rob Glushan, representing the applicant. We actually took over this case from a very capable land use consultant, Brad Rosenheim, after it had gone to the zoning administrator's hearing. And I have honestly not performed any greater outreach with this neighborhood and with Mr. Lehman in particular than at any time on hundreds and hundreds of matters over the last 30 years. As staff indicated, the conditional use permit is not appealable. That approval is not appealable, so the appellant appealed all that he could. But you need to know that the zone variance was never an issue. The issue with the parking in the front, the 2 parking spaces required in the front, was never an issue before the zoning administrator. It was never an issue at the Area Planning Commission. The sole issue had to do with the proposed increase in the number of kids at the site. It's been operating as a by right use without any city conditions for the past several years. And the zoning administrator did a great job of imposing 22 conditions. Most of those conditions were negotiated with these neighbors and with Mr. Lehman. And at the Area Planning Commission, interestingly, the zoning administrator had not included a sound wall between the property and where Mr. Lehman lives. And at the very last second, I got up, and even though we weren't getting anything in return, as you can see, because we're here today fighting an appeal, we offered the sound wall. So that was added by the Area Planning Commission. The reality is, if the variance for the 2 spaces in the front yard, which is on Hazeltine, a major secondary highway, was denied, it doesn't kill the project. I think Mr. Lehman thinks it will. It won't. The applicant would then put in the 2 spaces in the rear yard, which has access off of an alley, which would be worse for the neighbors to the east and behind the project. So happy to answer any questions, but the applicant really did, I thought we did a very good job to try to mitigate all the potential impacts as to the CUP, but as to the variance before you. Even the council office that sided with Mr. Lehman as to the CUP, I've checked with them, and they did not consider the variance to be an issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Jane Santino, Ron Ziff.
Good afternoon. I am one of the tenants that lives in the apartment building that's directly north of the property in question. And I think the entire project has been an issue. I don't think we focused on the parking in the front yard because our main concern at the time was the number of children that they were proposing, which at the time was 28. They have it down to 24, which is still quite a bit. That said, my question is, I wonder how many cars, parking spaces are required for the expansion that has been approved. Is it 2 spaces or 3? Because if it's 3, where is that 3rd spot? My understanding is that they would be required to have a handicap spot, and their proposal or discussion was to have the garage be the handicap spot. It's not at the current time. They probably aren't required to have that at the current time. It's used for someone who's staying there to park their car, and there's stuff in the garage as well. So my question is, these 2 parking spots in front, is that what is required for their increased activity? If it is, then it's 1 spot short. It's not 1 spot short, but if it's 3, then it is 1 spot short, because the 3rd one would be the handicap spot. So I think that's something to consider. I don't know how they're going to jam these 2 parking spaces in the front yard, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Ron Ziff.
Thank you. Ron Ziff, First Vice President, Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council, Chair of the Land Use Committee. I'm here for 2 reasons. First, to oppose the project. Second, to set the record straight. At the South Valley Area Planning Commission, a woman testified that the council had not voted on the project and had no position on it. That is totally untrue. We did hear the project on September 19th, 2013. We heard the owner, we heard the neighbors, we discussed it, we voted on it, and the Land Use Committee voted unanimously to deny the project. Nothing could be further from the truth that we did not have a position. The minutes have been posted online since the meeting. They are still posted online. I brought a copy to enter into the record, and it's our belief that the action of the Area Planning Commission may not be correct because they were given incorrect facts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim McQuiston.
Jim McQuiston. All I want to say is you have the standard of review for this committee before you in something I put in, and obviously the standard of review would say you don't have to make a decision on this. It's already been decided. But it does point out one fact that we have to do, and that is that the city for a long time relied on the fact they could change anything they wanted without worrying about the plans. And the Supreme Court, all the way down, thoroughly has said since 1971 we got to look at the plans first. As they said, the tail doesn't wag the dog. But I have to say that since this doesn't really have jurisdiction over this, according to the charter, we have to say that the APC is the ultimate factor. If they want to propose something different, they have to go to court.
Thank you. So, thank you. Staff, if you could come up, please. What's before us is the variance, and one of the speakers brought up the issue that even with the variance, the number of parking allowed was not appropriate. Can you explain that, please, how the...
Yeah, I would take issue with that. The zoning administrator, the matter that was in front of the zoning administrator was not the number of parking spaces. It was a utilization of the front yard to provide 2 parking spaces in the front yard. So I'm just concluding from the zoning administrator, I was not the zoning administrator record. If there was a request for a reduction in the number of parking spaces, that would have been part of the application. And the zoning administrator would have made findings relative to the number of parking spaces. But that was not what's in front of the zoning administrator. So we have to assume that the number of parking spaces will be provided, maybe 2 in the front, and I think there will be 2 just towards the rear of the building. In any event, the issue before us is the utilization of the front yard for 2 parking spaces, and 50% of that front yard to be paved. So that's what's in front of the zoning administrator. Again, the building and safety, if they do not have the required number of parking spaces, will not give them permit to operate the facility if they do not have the required number of parking spaces. So she's assuming if they do not have the number of parking spaces, that's not the case.
Okay, and when we consider both, I mean, somebody could apply for a CUP, increase the number of students, and then on a separate track request a variance, and the CUP was initially approved or denied by the, but the appeal was denied, right, by the APC?
Yeah. The conditional use was approved by the zoning administrator, and a variance to allow a reduction
and
of the front yardage. So both of them were approved by the zoning administrator.
Okay.
When they went to the Area Planning Commission, they were both supported by the Area Planning Commission. Both decisions were supported. And so the conditional use was not, cannot take that to the next level of appeal. So it ended with the zoning administrator, with the South Valley Area Planning Commission. So what they decided to do is appeal the zone variance portion of this project. And they claimed that the use of the front yard for parking purposes is going to reduce their property value, and we take issue with that. She's claiming that this thing should be about the number of parking spaces, and I don't think that was ever an issue. Yeah. It was how are we going to accommodate, or how was the applicant going to accommodate the required number of parking spaces on its site. And so the decision was to put 2 of those spaces in the front yard. In order to do that, you need to have some sort of discretionary action to put those 2 parking spaces in the front yard, and that's all this is in front of us.
Now, those as they do that, is that going to take up space on the driveway, or is it taking up space on front lawn, or how are they?
Yeah, good question. Is it going to take up space in the front yard? It is going to take up space in the front yard. What they also are asking as a part of the variance is to pave part of the front yard. And you could technically put a car in the front yard and then not pave it. So part of the request is to also pave it as well. Now, what the applicant has made clear is that they do not intend to park overnight in the front yard. The parking will be expressly for the employees of the facility while they're there, and when they're not there, there'll be no parking in the front yard. The other parking spaces are going to be behind, it's my understanding, it's going to be behind the dwelling itself.
And can I ask, just generally, you weren't the zoning administrator, but do you, in your review, this? It's hard to say because the record was not before you, but would this have any additional impact on the local community with respect to parking, et cetera? Or
in terms of parking, I don't see it having an impact on parking. Again, the parking is going to be primarily for the employees of the site. Now, in terms of traffic, I do think we can expect to have some issues with the traffic, in that you're going to have parents dropping off kids early in the morning and picking them up in the afternoon. So I think that's going to be part of the issue. But that was not addressed as part of the request. We can only assume that the applicant and the zone administrators made provisions to take care of the congestion relative to traffic. But the use of the front yard for parking purposes, that's what's in front of you at this time.
Okay. Thank you. This is CD4 here? Anybody from Mr. Labange's office? No. Okay. He's sick today. Yeah. I'm inclined. It's a tough one, and it's just part of the reason we take the input from the local council member is because they're familiar with the terrain, they're familiar with the everyday activities, but we don't have that information before us. I'm just wondering if we continue this for a week, would it change that, even what direction we go, even if we have
Mr. Chair, the last day for council to decide on this appeal is June 2nd.
Where does that leave us then, in terms of next week is a holiday, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'll recommend that at this time support decisions, lower decisions, and deny the appeal. But at the same time, I would ask that the local community discuss this with the local council member and see if anything can be done between now and the time it gets to council. So, is that okay with you? Okay. So, seconded by Mr. Englander, we'll move to deny the appeal and ask the appellant and the local community members to discuss this with CD4 prior to council. Next item. So ordered. Thank you.
Item 9 is the weekly report, Councilman. The weekly director.
There's no weekly report.
Okay, and so public comment.
Our planning director is no public comment. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.